More than 300 Sewage and Water Board employees were at their posts when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans on August 29, 2005. And they stayed through the catastrophic flooding that engulfed 80% of New Orleans after the levees broke. These dedicated and heroic employees were first responders providing critical emergency sewerage and water board system restorations, while in many instances fighting for their own survival and the survival of others. Their valiant efforts must not be forgotten but preserved for austerity as a testament to the courage, tenacity, and dedication of these employees in the face of overwhelming odds. There you go. For the people listening, tell them who you are and what you do for the Sewage and Water Board.
My name is Damon Adams, and I'm an operating engineer for the Sewage and Water Board, and I've been here for 33 years. I run the power plant and facility that generates the power for the city's drainage stations, draws in the raw water for purification, and pressurizes the distribution system.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been in that position?
For 33 years.
For 33 years?
Yes.
So you kind of know what you're doing now, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Came here when I started when I was 18.
Wow.
And I'm 52.
So you got a lot of experience.
Yes.
But not a lot of institutional knowledge.
Yes, yes. I know how the system works, especially within this plant.
Mm-hmm. Describe the cohesion between the workers of the Sewage and Water Board.
Well, during the storm, and we've been through storm events together before, we get pretty close and we get tight. And we set up a routine to keep the place well monitored and running. And Katrina was especially difficult because it knocked us out, and we had never been taken offline before. Before taking over the department in '98, I began going around asking people and suggesting that we come up with a plan to black start this plant, cold start it. And it was kind of laughed at because it had never happened before. And the thought was, it's never going to happen. You know, I kind of thought different. You know, anything can go down. Mm-hmm. So I began to work out some things in my mind. What would it take to relight this place if it were taken down? And through a team effort, and without the help, none of this would have happened. Without the help of everyone in this plant that stayed, we brought it back. As I remember one interviewee saying that the Corps engineers said it would take 90 days to pump the city out. We were able to do it in 11 because we were able to restart the plant, and everyone's help that helped on the outside as well. It was a big team effort of which we just could not have done it without each other's.
Describe how that, what went into, what was at play? How did you make that work?
At the moment, right when the plant went down, I gathered in what troops I could and from the departments around us and said, look, we can relight this. I know we can. And we can restart this plant, which means we can pump the city again. We've got to wait for the breaches to be sealed to pump it out. We can restart this plant, which also means drinking water, fire protection, and pumping capacity. I held a meeting and I said, guys, don't expect any kind of ticker tape parades. Don't expect any kind of accolades. Expect that you're going to get the sense of being able to help the citizens of New Orleans, and at the end of the day, you're still going to have a job because you stayed and you worked for it. Mm-hmm. And that was the attitude we had. We just stayed and worked hard. We went through fires, we went through equipment failures, flooding, and breakdowns, but everyone stayed and everyone participated and put in a really concerted effort to make it feel like you were part of a big team and a team that was going to be successful.
If someone asked you to define Sewage and Water Board employees, what would your definition
Team
be?
players.
Team players.
Team players with the city at their heart. They do care. It might be one of the reasons for some of the rules like residency requirements is to give you a sense of purpose. But, I would call them team players and community-minded.
So these are public servants?
Yes. Yes, civil servants. A true meaning of the word civil servant.
Mm-hmm. So what was happening in your mind when you heard that the levees had breached?
We didn't hear it. We felt it. Water came in. And we didn't know till later. that what happens that the canal walls failed. And at the time, our general superintendent, Mr. Joseph Sullivan, was here, and he wanted to go to the break at the 17th Street Canal. We would let him go. He was a little up in age. So I had a boat in the plant, an inflatable with a little small engine. And I took a coworker and a camera and a radio, and we made it from this plant to the break in the 17th Street Canal out by the lakefront. We stopped in many places and portaged the boat around different facilities. Stopped at Station 6 where crews were there. Sewage and Water Board workers were at Station 6 working, and glad they were there because they gave us something to drink, and it was the best liquid I ever had. It was so hot. We got to the break and we started photographing and filming, and actually went into the break for a moment. And then the sandbags started showing up by helicopter, so it's time for us to get out of here. So we left and came back and then brought the video footage and photographs for the engineers to see up close what had happened.
Why was that important?
They feel like they needed to know why it failed and how to seal it quickly. And we volunteered to go get the data for them. And
so this is the Sewage and Water Board employees, quasi Corps of Engineers employees.
I guess.
So,
maybe,
so you guys have been pressed into service by the Corps of Engineers.
I guess sort of. We were waiting for a helicopter to arrive, and it was a delay, so we went and took the boat. And it's kind of funny because right when we arrived and started taking photographs, the call over the radio came and it said, "We got the helicopter. Y'all can come back." Well, okay, we're here.
You already had the pictures.
We're here. So we got back, and there were people on the roofs of their houses asking for help and things like that. And we called and got boats sent to them because there wasn't much 2 guys and an 8-foot inflatable could do, except get to that point and get back. I remember one elderly gentleman was in his house, and the guys were on the roof across the street were saying, "You got to save this guy." So okay, we'll go save him. We get to his door, and we say, "Look, sir, we're going to pull you into this boat and get you to the levee." And he says, "Well, wait a minute, I have to go get my keys." And we said, "Sir, keys to what? Come on, let's go." "No, I have to." He wandered back off and just disappeared. So we made a radio call to get somebody in there. Turned out he was okay. He got out.
But you were a little concerned about it.
Very concerned. He went back and he's going to sit there all day looking for his keys when he really doesn't need them. But we found out the guy was okay, and it turned out okay.
Did you panic at all when this water came crashing in to the power plant?
No, we were more rushing around trying to stop it and pump it out.
Describe what that was like.
We had some sandbags up and they washed away, so we actually got a backhoe fired up and took scoops of mud and put it in place to stop the leak into the plant, and that helped us. We were able to pump it out after that. Our concerns at the time was to relight the place, to get it going again, and that was an effort. It took 4 tries in 3 days, and in the 4th try it stuck, and we got it to hold. Because of so many components that have to come in and stay in and dovetail into another operation, have to fall into place just right, it took a little while to get it all right.
So without a doubt, that was your biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge.
Refiring that plant.
Refire the plant, get it going again. So that without that, without the Sewage and Water Board, there is no city, because without water, there's no city. There's anarchy, pestilence, disease. Without fresh water, there's no society.
Did you feel any sense of anarchy during this entire process?
No, I felt a team effort from the people in the plant. The only sense of anarchy we felt there were some people on the outside threatening to come in and saying that if you don't let us in, we're going to come in and take what we want. And we simply stood our ground and said, "No, you're not." No. And it didn't happen.
You knew this was a vital facility. You had to protect this at all costs.
It has to come back. It has to. Without it, there's no city. So it has to come back. And that's what our efforts were really pointed at, was to get it back, to relight it. And we got it.
So, how closely did this fit the plan that you had formulated in your mind, if there were ever an occasion that this plant went out?
Those things that I had formulated in my mind were mostly technical things to do to a piece of equipment to get it online, and it worked. Most of them worked. Some of them didn't, but most of them did. And what really worked was the guys helping me to implement it. 'Cause without their help, it just wouldn't have happened. And I know I stressed that a lot. It is a big point. This team effort is what made it come off.
But that's what makes this sewage and water board system so unique.
Yes.
It is the team effort.
Yes. Now, I believe when this place was designed, it was designed to be heavily manned or staffed.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it a very robust system, and the designers were ahead of their time. They knew what they were doing when they put it together and made it staff heavy. They knew it would take the staff to keep it going in any kind of emergencies, and it did. Mm-hmm. It was staff run. Mm-hmm. Equipment was secondary.
Equipment was your second thought. Your first thought was people.
People, get them together, and let's make it happen. Let's attack the equipment. And then that's what we did, and it worked.
So are we talking about round-the-clock action here?
Yes, 24/7. I lived in my office for a month. It's just where I had to live. The showers were sump pumps thrown into the clear wells with plastic around it just so we could rinse off and then get back to work and try to get it going again. And then line it up for another test. It falls down. Line it up again, another test. On the fourth try, it stuck, and we kept it online.
So through the efforts of the sewage and water board employees, you're able to dewater sections of the city in 11 days,
yes,
as opposed to the projected 90 days.
Right.
How'd you feel about that?
Felt pretty darn good about that. That was a wonderful sense of accomplishment, to knowing that we were able to help get it out really quickly and make things start happening. People could get back to their homes, they could get back to work, or come try to start back and rebuild.
How would you describe the progress made post-Katrina in the rebuilding of the sewage and water board system?
I think we still have a long way to go. I think that a lot of the efforts that are in place are fantastic and are helping. I still think we have a ways to go. And I think that we're not far from seeing the result of those efforts. We're close. Mm-hmm. Some things are going to begin to come online for us to give us a better sense of stability, to give us more redundancy and a more robust system. Mm-hmm. We're getting closer there. We're not there yet. We're getting closer.
Mm-hmm. Last question. What do you think the legacy of you and your employees or fellow workers, what is the legacy that you guys are leaving for the sewage and water board system?
Hopefully a sense of purpose and a sense of pride and wanting and ownership of wanting to stay and make a career out of this and make it your life.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the most important jobs, if not the most important job, in keeping the city of New Orleans, quote unquote, afloat.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. The flooding of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina was the most devastating disaster to hit any U.S. city. When most of the city was evacuating, some 300 sewage and water board employees stayed on the job, facing great personal peril to respond to this devastating crisis. We salute our Katrina heroes who met the greatest challenge of their lives and found a way to rise above the storm and overcome the impact of Hurricane Katrina. The board's forces dewatered the city in 11 days after the breaches were closed and began to restore quality of life, services of water, sewer, and drainage to the city. It was the restoration of these services that made it possible for citizens to return. It was the restoration of these services that made it possible for progress to begin, going from devastation to recovery, restoration, and today, rebuilding of the most complex infrastructure in the country. Today, confidence in the Sewerage and Water Board's management and fiscal responsibility has resulted in the first water and sewer rate increases since the 1990s. These increases will be the building blocks for the development and the continuous rebuilding of the board's systems in the future.